What's up, guys? CJ Pearson. Welcome to episode 2 of Family Matters. So good to see you. As you know, before we go into every episode, we first got to have a little bit of a come to Jesus meeting. And first, let's talk about ICE. As a black man, I don't understand how you can support what ICE is doing in America. Actually, as a black man who was born in Georgia, went to the University of Alabama, and has been an American citizen all 23 years of my life, I actually voted for what ICE is doing in America. If President Trump wants to deport 1 million of them, fine by me. If President Trump wants to deport 10 million of them, fine by me. Because I know damn well if my black ass broke the law, I wouldn't get a sanctuary city. I get a cellmate named George Santos and a court date. Why should America be a nation of laws for the Adams and Jadariuses of the world, but not Virginia Basora Gonzalez or Kilmar Abrego Garcia, an alleged member of MS-13? We have enough Crips and Bloods in America. We don't need El Salvadorian gangbangers too. And it's not just me saying this. It's folks in the inner city of Chicago as well.
You and all these Democratic mayors out here and governors, y'all talking about crashing out for these illegals, right? You all sit up there and said you will not allow Trump to come in here and get these illegals. Yeah, you can smile. We're in $1 billion deficit. And you spent half of our money, half of that on illegals. You campaign and double down that you would not raise property taxes. I ain't gonna do that. You campaign went around doing that. And here we are right now. You wanted to raise our taxes $300 million. They shut it down. Now we back here for $150 million. Okay. See, this is what we asking now. Since you want to crash out, some of y'all said y'all willing to go to jail for it. Trump, Tom Homan, make an example out this Negro right here first.
Tom Homan, make an example out of this Negro first, she said. She took the words right out of my mouth. And it appears that she and many other black people in the city of Chicago will actually get their wish with the National Guard set to deploy in the city of Chicago any day now. Black people are tired of being used as scapegoats for whatever aggrieved group the woke social justice warriors decide to champion on any given day. It's not our job to be the champions for the LGBT, LMNAOP, QRS agenda, or for Palestine, or a Democrat Party that lives every single day in no uncertain terms to torment our community, destroy our community, and shows us every day that they don't give a damn about us. Joining me today to talk about all of this is conservative commentator Rob Smith and the former right hand to former Biden White House press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre Yemisi Egbewole. Welcome to the family, y'all. Yemisi, I want to start with you on this topic. It's not just, white people, MAGA Republicans coming out and saying, we want ICE to do what they're doing, all of those things. There's actually people showing up to city council meetings in Chicago saying, we want ICE to come to Chicago. How do you explain that?
Well, I can't attest to the videos that you say are of people saying that they want ICE to come to Chicago. What I can speak
do you think black people are not saying they want ICE to come to Chicago?
I think that anybody could be saying they want ICE to come to Chicago, but I can't attest to the videos of people at city council meetings saying that they want ICE to come to Chicago. What I can attest to is the work that Governor J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson have been doing when it comes to making sure that we're doing comprehensive immigration reform, but with a side of compassion. I truly believe that all Democrats...
Rob is sitting there he's like, you jump in.
I'm just taking it all in. I really just want to listen. I'm taking it all in, seriously.
I truly believe that all Democrats want to see comprehensive immigration reform. I don't know anybody's background here, but I used to be a green card holder, moved to the States when I was a young girl. Yeah. Jamaican mother, Nigerian father, highly educated, came here to pursue their dreams, yada, 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 yada. Yeah. I worked in the White House, so I can say we made it. I have seen the immigration system work when people follow the rules, right? What I am seeing, and I think what a lot of Democrats are seeing, is people showing up to court-mandated hearings, and I know how the whole entire system goes, with showing up to hearings, checking in, you're assigned somebody, you meet with them. They're showing up to these things that by law, they're supposed to do. They're following all the rules, and they're being taken away from their families right there at the court.
Well, the problem is for a long time, many of these people were not showing up. They would come into our country, flood our borders, and they would not show up to these court-mandated hearings. And so now we have a lot of people in this country who we have no idea who they are, where they came from. And I think a lot of people in inner cities across America, let's just, let's operate in this under the premise that, for a long time, you have those on the left that say black people are treated, poorly by our criminal justice system. Is it not us being permissive of that when we say, okay, illegals can stay in our country and we need to show compassion to them, but are people showing compassion to, black people in inner cities across America? I think those on the left for a long time said that law enforcement was not.
Yeah, I'm sure there's an argument to be made that some people feel as though immigrants are given a higher priority or better attention than people who were even born or raised in this country. I can understand that. But I do think within the whole argument about immigration, I just want to add some nuance of there are people who see folks being detained when they are going to their hearings. And then there's the other side of immigration, right, where there is a high association of gang violence, right? We do want to stop some of the fentanyl coming across our borders. I mean, I live in a D.C. neighborhood that has seen the high effects of the fentanyl crisis.
Well, so I have a question, just to hop in here. If you want to stop the effects of fentanyl coming over across the border, why wasn't that happening over the past 4 years? Because this is the thing. You can't talk about, okay, we're seeing all of this stuff happen where these people are going to the court-mandated appearances and they're getting hauled off, et cetera. You can't say this and then just ignore everything that happened over the past 4 years when the border was left wide open and when these people weren't showing up to any of these hearings at all. And then to another point that you made, I think it's very easy to say, oh, these people are being ripped away from their families.
These
and
people not showing up?
Let me just make one point to the people being ripped away from their families. Because there's always this assumption that when you have an illegal immigrant that's with a child, that's their child. And we know that that's not the case a lot of the time. We know that these coyotes actually place adults and children that have zero relation together to give the appearance of a family unit, right? And so all of that stuff has been happening. So if you're going to make that conversation, I understand the conversation about compassion, right? But you have to have this stuff based in fact. We can't just assume that because a child and an adult are together that they are mother and child or that they're related in any capacity.
My entire thing is I don't even buy into the premise of systemic racism in this country, right? But my entire thing is that if you actually believe that America is a systemically racist country that disproportionately discriminates against black people, shouldn't you support the equal application of the law when it comes to deporting illegal aliens who have invaded our country, right? Like, that's my thing. It's like black people are going to jail, white people are going to jail when they commit everyday crimes. Why should illegals not be sent back to their country of origin when they commit the crime of illegally entering our country?
I think undocumented immigrants who come into this country and are not following the system and the rules that we've put in place for them to follow, I mean, they should be deported. Nobody. It isn't like there weren't deportations that happened under Biden. It isn't like there are deportations that happened under Obama. In fact, a huge criticism of folks on the very far progressive left is that we were too focused on making sure that folks got deported. And it's kind of funny then when you're a centrist in the middle, because it's okay. People on the far left are saying, Obama locked up children, Obama was too focused on deportations, and then people on the right say, well, we're not focused on deportations enough. And so I do think there has to be some kind of middle ground of Democrats saying, yes, we do need comprehensive immigration reform. And that doesn't mean just allowing anybody who comes here.
Well, so I have a question, because I just have to question the rebranding of centrist. When you served under the Biden administration, you were Corinne Jean-Pierre's, working on the staff, chief of staff. So how can you brand yourself as a centrist being so deeply involved in that administration, which was very far left, even to the left of Obama? So I just don't understand. I know Corinne Jean-Pierre is trying to do something similar in which, she's got this book coming out where she's saying that she doesn't agree with anything and that she's an independent now. And that's very convenient for the moment. But you can't say that you're a centrist having served under this administration, under the Biden administration, which is very far left on a lot of these issues.
Well, I think we have to look at where Democrats have gone as a whole, because I think a lot of folks like an AOC or Bernie Sanders would look at that and go, that's not what we view as very far left. I mean, Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib said that she wasn't even going to visit the White House anymore. So I do think there has been an overall shift of the Democratic Party, and folks like a Joe Biden that worked for Barack Obama. And a lot of the folks that worked for Joe Biden also still worked in the Barack Obama administration. I mean, they would say that they're oftentimes labeled mainstream established Democrats. Now, to the point of Karine, well, she's an independent now, so she might have to come on the podcast and speak about that.
Let me know.
I
Now
can't.
she is. We'd love to have it.
I can't speak to that whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know, I do think that if your job in particular is not just a senior advisor, but as the press secretary, and the press secretary, right, is the mouthpiece of an administration, it is really tough to then go back and say, I don't think we have it right. Look, did Dems lose? Are Dems in the minority in the House, the Senate, and the White? Yes. Am I still a Democrat? Yes. I don't think you kind of jump ship when things are rocky waters. I think you just stick through it. So,
but I think that goes back to what we talked about in our first episode, though. There were these black faces in the White House, but were there actual people listening to the black people there, right? Kamala Harris was given the portfolio. We were talking about the border, was given the portfolio of immigration. Based on, I think...
She's the border czar.
Yeah, she was the border czar. And I don't think that, you know, maybe she would tell you that she did a good job, but I think even in her book, she says that she was given a shit issue, is how she describes the border situation. My thing is that...
Borders lose-lose for Dems, yeah.
Yeah, so I think if you look at Karine Jean-Pierre, it's like, especially when you look at whether or not the party is going too far left or whatever it is, you bring up Obama, it's like he would probably be treated like a MAGA Republican now based on the things that he said about immigration. And then there are clips of Bill Clinton that are floating around where people are like, there's no way this could be said in the modern day Democrat Party. And my thing is that like, this is not like maybe in the, you know, the green rooms of MSNBC and CNN, like they don't really understand that like black people really do have, I think, an issue with the 2 tiers of justice thing. I think that's their biggest issue with the illegal immigration problem. It's not even that like, oh, they just like don't like illegals or whatever it may be. I really do feel as if you tell black people America is systemically racist, this and that or whatever, but then you also go and say, but we're going to let the illegals stay even though we acknowledge they broke the law. Black people, I don't think you can... The math isn't mathing there. It's not clicking to me.
And it's not. And let me make another point as well, because this is something that I'm seeing now, which I find very fascinating. And I'd be interested to get your take on this. It seems to me that there is so much energy being put into try to make Black Americans care about the illegals that are being deported, to try to make Black Americans speak up and protest against ICE and all of this stuff. And to CJ's point, there are a lot of Black people, and you know, you see the videos all over social media. I know you can't attest to it, but literally Google Black people and ICE on TikTok, Twitter, whatever. It's all over the place. And there seems to be a concentrated effort because all of the civil rights movements in this country like use Black people to push their stuff. The alphabet soup does it. I think that they really want Black people to be writing and advocating for illegal immigrants right now, and we're just simply not doing it, right? Not even mainstream Democrats are really pushing that hard for them. And so I think that people are rejecting the idea that Black people always have to throw ourselves on the sword for everybody's movement. And we always get stamped over in the movement to other people's rights. I noticed this even with the LGBT. All of a sudden, 15 years ago, the face of LGBT on the left is now Black all the time. Just a bunch of Black people all the time. And then straight Black people are looking at this like, well, what does this have to do with us? And back to the point with illegal immigration, Black people are looking at these illegal immigrants who, by the way, infiltrate lower and working class Black communities, right? They overwhelm our resources. They overwhelm our schools, our programs. I remember in New York City, there was a neighborhood in New York City in which the gym that was being used for after-school activities for a primarily Black school was used to house those illegals. Remember when they were busting all the illegals up to New York? Yeah. And so it seems to me that Black people are tired, and we are just not taking the bait when it comes to writing for these illegals.
We're tired of being like the emotional support animal for everything the left believes that we all should care about. Is my thing. It's like we saw it during, you know, the beginning of the LGBT movement. They're like, well, you know, because you're Black, you somehow should care about this because they were in a grief class at time. And then you see with the illegal immigration issue, the Palestine thing was super interesting. They were like, because you're Black, you should care about Palestine. What? That actually, like, what
I think
similarities
there's like an underlying thing in here of like everything you're saying is a far left white liberal keeps just flashing in my mind and flashing in my mind. Because I think back to the first time we recorded the podcast was CBC week?
Yeah.
Congressional Black Caucus week. I spoke on a panel. I was heavily involved. And one of the things I noticed that was missing from the whole conversation about what's happening right now is that if you check back at the Congressional Black Caucus, Jim Clyburn wasn't talking about immigration.
Yeah.
It's never been really one of the tenets that the CBC has pushed forth. Like, you know, you go to the CHCI Gala, Congressional Hispanic Institute Caucus, for those who are not up to date on our DC Inside the Beltway acronyms.
I wish they were plenty.
Yeah.
Acronym for everything.
I know, yeah. That's their star. That's what they lead with. I think it almost does a disservice to those in the Congressional Hispanic Caucus that is the issue they get pigeonholed with, because I think there's just a wide breadth of people within like the Hispanic community, and I'm not speaking for them because I am not Hispanic, that care about like economic and policy issues. Like I speak at a lot of West African events. I speak to a lot of like African forums, heavily involved in like the Nigerian and Ghana diaspora. Shout out Congressman Gabe Amo, who is of Ghanaian descent, that I've like highly supported, that I used to work with in the Biden admin. But one of the things we talk about a lot is that when you come with like West African immigrant parents, what are their top issues? Education, housing, the economy. They want you to come to the States, get a great education, buy a home, and those tenets.
Is that why they disproportionately are beginning to vote Republican or conservative?
Well, my parents are still living in the Atlanta suburbs, and they are very much Democrat.
I gotta talk to them.
That's very interesting.
They go back and forth because my dad also really liked Brian Kemp, and you know from Georgia. Where are you from?
Originally from Ohio.
Oh, okay, Ohio. From Georgia. I mean, like Brian Kemp at the state level, great governor. And so they vote in a way of what matters to them, who matters for their city council, who matters for their school board. I mean, the way that I think a lot of folks traditionally used to vote for.
But at the end of the day, and you brought up a really good point about the Black immigrant experience as opposed to the Black American experience, our aims and our goals are not the same.
Yeah.
We're not starting out in the same place. And there's a lot of tension between Black Americans, the foundational Black American movement.
Okay, yeah.
There's a lot of tension between them.
What's
and
ADOS? What is that again?
American Descendants of Slavery.
Okay. Because I sometimes get a lot of feedback.
Well, you get a lot of
Tariq
feedback.
Nasheeds of the world.
The Tariq Nasheeds. Well, because the reality of the situation is that the experiences of Black immigrants that come to this country are not the experiences of Black Americans who've been here for generations.
How are they different?
Well, I'll tell you how they're different. First of all, Black immigrants that are first-generation immigrants to this country tend to come from more financial wealth than Black Americans. They also tend to come from people who haven't experienced a legacy of discrimination in this country. Where you and I differ, CJ, is that I'm not going to say America is systemically racist, but there are racist policies that have been built into American history. For example, my grandfather that was a veteran of the United States military was not able to get a loan for a GI Bill to buy a house because he was Black. The GI Bill was one of the chief economic, factors in terms of people building wealth in that era. He
suburbs.
Was literally not allowed to do this because he was Black, right? So
of course, this was decades ago.
Of course, it was decades ago, but that's a Black American experience, and you're not going to talk to Black immigrants that have that experience, and so there's a lot of tension there. So I would imagine that Black immigrants are a lot friendlier towards the immigration situation than native-born Black Americans, because I've seen very few native-born Black Americans that are really
not friendlier, actually.
No?
It's incredibly expensive to get to this country,
to the point is that there's always a lot of wealth that comes from the Black immigrants because it is so expensive to get here the legal way.
Yeah, I mean, my dad had to study for a civics test to pass the citizenship test, same time I did in middle school, and so we were studying together. And some of the questions I was like, this is incredibly hard. So I think I don't know if they're as friendlier because they've done the process and they paid the money for it, and so sometimes. I think an older generation of like African immigrants can have a different view than me.
We saw this debate kind of like, peek its head right during Kamala Harris's campaign, where there was always these
Kamala
debates.
Harris is not Black and is still not Black and will never be Black. Kamala Harris is not Black, was not Black, is not Black, and will never be Black.
Well, the thing about Kamala Harris, I don't think she knows what she is, because she would do these interviews, she would sound Latina sometimes, and she would sound Jamaican sometimes, she actually is Jamaican.
What is the not Black?
The not Black is Kamala Harris is the descendant of what it was a South Asian and a Jamaican person, right? She's not a Black American, first of all.
And she was Indian her entire career while it was politically expedient in California.
Is the first one day she's the first South Asian, the next day she's the first Black American, the next day she's whatever. So this is not Black, like, I don't care. Kamala Harris is not Black. And what they do, and they did this with Obama as well, because Obama is the biracial child of a man from Kenya and a woman from Kansas, correct?
Kansas.
And so what they do with these biracials, Kamala and Obama are the same way.
Is you coming for the biracials, the immigrants? Oh my God.
No, but I'm going to tell you what the Democrat Party does is that they come here, they send them to be Black. They sent Obama to the south side of Chicago to learn how to be Black American. They sent Kamala to Howard to learn. Their Democrat masters, the people, the puppet masters, all the money that's around them, because
it's the white liberal elite that you were mentioning earlier.
Because we're not him to Southside Chicago.
Well, here's the thing: we're not going to pretend that a Barack Obama or a Kamala Harris just comes out of nowhere because they're that great, because they're not that great.
Barack Obama is
and when
good.
I say Michelle Obama is great,
yeah.
Michelle Obama is great. Barack Obama is not. I personally think that Michelle is everything they pretend Barack is, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Ooh, I might sit with this a little. I might ease over to your side on that one a little bit.
That's a whole nother podcast.
But I do want to I'm
what
like.
Else do you
but
think
I'm
Michelle
always
Obama
gonna.
is?
What else do I
think Michelle Obama is?
What do you mean? Oh, I said that Michelle. I said that Michelle Obama is what they pretend Barack was.
Yeah.
She's somebody who like actually did the thing.
Yeah.
Well, she's his boss too, right? Yeah.
Well,
okay. I think he went to Southside Chicago because he went to Chicago to work at the law firm, and then he met the girl from Southside
Chicago to learn how to be Black so that he could appeal to Black people to run for president. But just like Kamala Harris, she used to, have photos with her mom in the sari or whatever, the Indian garb, just like they sent her to Howard University so that she could be an AKA and be around the Black girls and to be a sister girl.
Yeah.
Like, let's
but also, too, that's actually an interesting point, because notice through the campaign, it's like, should we get like the AKA convention? But there were none of our line sisters that were coming out and saying, hey, we love Kamala. Like, I don't know the fraternities at Alabama. We rushed. I don't know if it's called the same thing.
They rushed into the by 9.
Yeah.
We got to hear producer Jedi in the back. Maybe she'll weigh in. But it's just one of those things where I just you're right. It seems very contrived, very inauthentic. I can't wait till they send Pete Buttigieg to like Morehouse and they have him doing some things with the cues.
CJ.
This would be horrible.
Trigger warning before you bring up Pete.
They're gonna have him rolling his neck with the cues and barking. That is how we're gonna end.
Can I just say
2026? I just want to let you know.
Can I just say the most annoying thing to me about Black people that we do as a collective is when there is like one white person that does is on beat or does something interesting, everybody's like, bring them to the cookout.
They go crazy.
Because the Pete thing.
But has Pete ever been on beat?
It makes my skin crawl.
No.
But they don't even need to be on beat. I'll be scrolling on TikTok and it's just like a white person clapping and everybody's like, look at him, come to the cookout. I'm just like, let's all relax. Let's all relax.
They'll invite a white person on beat to the cookout before they'll invite a Black conservative.
They will. That's what I think. They will invite a white liberal, who are some of the most racist people I've ever met and encountered. They believe that Blackness is a disability. They believe that we need to have our hand held. They believe that we don't deserve safe communities, which is why they're fighting so hard against the deployment of the National Guard into many of America's inner cities, which is actually so crazy to me because it's like the way that they've tried to frame this so desperately as an anti-Black move by President Trump. It is disproportionately Black people that are dying in these cities all across the country. Cities like St. Louis, cities like Chicago, cities like Detroit, Portland. I don't know if Black people live there, so I can't weigh in.
They don't.
Okay. So, what I will say, in those other cities, though, Black people are disproportionately dying because of the left's soft on crime policies. And so when I hear them saying that, this is the most anti-Black thing that Trump has ever done. It's the most pro-Black thing that Trump has ever done. A long list of other pro-Black things that they never want to talk about. But why don't Black people deserve safe communities? Why is that not something we should all be bipartisan and united about?
But to the point, what I'll challenge you a little bit on this there is that I don't it's such poor messaging. I don't even see it coming from the Black Dems that much anymore. To call the deployment of the National Guard to Chicago or any of these places racist, because I feel like it just doesn't play anymore.
Well, Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, though, I think 2 days ago, I think he said that President Trump is trying to wage a civil war on America's cities. It's no, he's trying to keep your entire city from killing itself. Like they call it Chirac for a reason.
Let's not take issue with him using the word war when the president used the word war and said, he called Portland war ravaged, and I was like, I've been to Portland. It might be smelly.
Have you been recently?
It might be smelly, but I don't know if war ravaged.
Well, what do you think of Brandon Johnson?
What do I think of Brandon Johnson? I think he's better than, what was her name?
Beetlejuice? Lightfoot.
What's her? Lori Lightfoot.
Lori Lightfoot.
Forgot her name too.
Beetlejuice.
He's a step up from
Is he
the
though?
Lori.
But he has a near single-digit approval rating.
I thought it was at 12%. Give him that. Look,
He's actually, I didn't think that I would miss Lori Lightfoot, but Brandon is
you don't miss
horrible.
Lori Lightfoot.
Oh, no, I don't.
You have it's too much time has passed. Too much time. You don't.
Yeah.
Nobody misses Lori Lightfoot.
Okay.
It's like, but that.
I mean, is he to me the strongest of some of the black mayors? I think the black mayor of Baltimore. Oh man,
Brandon Scott.
Brandon Scott.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
like Brandon Johnson. I think he's fantastic, and he is somebody who has looked at the crime in Baltimore and taken it head on. I mean, as a young black man, for him to have grown up in that area and just to say, yeah, I know what these streets are
What's
like.
your favorite thing that he's done?
Well, so he actually he has a program where he reinvests in youth programs and activities. Something that I've really pushed in DC. Muriel Bowser. Those programs disappeared during COVID when she shut us all down and wouldn't let us go to parks and sit. That's okay. I respect NPS, so I left the parks. But there were programs in DC that he has continued in Baltimore where if you were a student and you didn't show up to school, resource officers would get in a van. They had your address. They would show up to your door. They would knock, and they would wire you in school. They'd put you in the van. You'd come back to school. They would contact your parents. They would hold the parents responsible for truancy. The burden would not be on the community. It would be on the parents. And that stopped. And now 4 out of every 10 students in D.C. do not attend school. There are even proposals talking about incentivizing monetarily students to go to school, which is
Scott in Philly
insane. Yes.
put this back.
No
wonder taxes are so expensive because the government has to raise people's kids now. So, But Democrats, you guys love.
Well, but that's
you
the
guys
thing.
love taxing people to death so that the government.
Okay, Russell Boyd.
No, seriously, seriously. If there's a fundamental difference between Democrats and Republicans, it is just this idea that taxes and the federal government literally should take care of every single person, literally from cradle to grave. Put all of the social stuff to the side, all of the cookout, all of that stuff. By the way, I don't need to be invited to the cookout. I'm invited to the country club. So that's all good. But the fundamental difference...
The Ned?
Always. That's very inside DC.
This is giving swamp. I'm sorry. I apologize, guys, for our swamp, and we'll also be going to the net after
this. I feel more comfortable as a Republican being it's okay that I'm a capitalist. It's okay that this is who I am. I want to help people, but I want people to help themselves.
Yeah.
And the issue that I have, the fundamental issue and the difference between Democrats and Republicans, and leave all the other BS to the side, is that Democrats believe that taxes should be raised and that government should handle every single thing in everybody's life from cradle to grave.
Yeah.
And that's a fundamental difference. Yeah. And there's, different policy differences that we have in different levels, but that's a fundamental difference. Yeah. And so when you tell me that it's a good thing that Brandon Scott in Philly is, creating this whole program again, which Baltimore, excuse me.
It's a black lady.
Yeah, in Baltimore, which is going to have literally taxpayer-funded people just go to these kids' house and physically take them to school. I don't know that that's a great thing. Yeah. It's literally just setting them up mentally to have somebody else in charge of them. Maybe that's a part of that school-to-prison pipeline.
Yeah, and you look at it historically, too. The federal government has shown they are have demonstrated they are very bad at raising black children, right? You look at, of course, LBJ's, plan for the Great Society and tethering, the black community to things like food stamps, all these entitlement programs, all of these things. What have we seen? That it does not actually work well for black children and black kids all throughout America. And so it's when I think about, the crime issue in DC and Baltimore, wherever these places may be, the common denominator is at the end of the day, the solution cannot just be sitting in the National Guard. It cannot just be more policing.
Right, that is
it
short
has
term.
to lead to a actual cultural transformation within the Black
and
community.
can I speak about that? Because I think you invest high on education.
Who's investing?
All of us. I think we all invest.
The taxpayers.
I think the taxpayers
And even more-
invest high
so
in education.
do you think we have
and
a-
then we find ways to reduce. Like, I think it is so costly. In D.C., everybody lives in D.C., right?
Yeah.
D.C.
I mean, I get here enough. Yeah, I'm moving here.
Okay, so you don't pay D.C. taxes. That's
I
what you
don't-
mean.
No,
For those
I'm
of us in
registered in New
D.C.
York right now,
Oh,
actually,
okay.
so
Well,
I pay
then you
those
feel.
taxes.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Oh yeah, I know all about
yeah.
socialism. Trust me.
You have a new mayor coming up. So.
Well, you can always pull Curtis through. You can pull him through.
No,
you
we
can
can't. And
convince
he also-
people.
he needs to stop
You
running
can
for
convince
mayor.
people that Curtis can do it.
I can't convince anybody that Curtis can do anything because I think he needs to stop running for mayor.
Well, kudos to him
Personally.
because he still got higher than Eric Adams. Lest we forget, Eric Adams flamed out at number 4, and Curtis should
You
get
brought up
credit
Eric
for
Adams,
that.
so we have to
I
discuss
really
this story
wanted-
because I saw this story before I came here.
Okay, let's
how
do it.
he hired his side chick for $165,000 a year, and now
That's
she's
his
writing
game.
a self-published book, not even published by a legacy publisher. Couldn't get Hatchet, Simon and Schuster,
Random House.
HarperCollins, any of them, and she self-published a book, airing him completely out. I will say, I'm an Eric Adams apologist. I think that is the funniest man that has ever graced public office. Like, when he went on TV and said with his straight face that the reason he's out every single night at all the restaurants and clubs in New York City was because he's a mayor of a nighttime city. He needs to go test the product. I was like,
It's shameless.
this is like... At a certain point, people deserve that kind of representation if they're going to vote for it. And I don't live in New York, so actually, I really don't care what happens. And
The
so
rats are running the
The rats
city.
are running the city. And yeah, it's like
He is
I
so
gotta tell
quotable.
you, look, Eric Adams would have been preferable to Mamdani, who I believe is going to win, and who believe is going to be. I don't know that
Not
he's
Cuomo.
going to be.
We're leaving Big Daddy Cuomo out of the whole entire
Oh, yeah?
thing, guys.
Yeah.
I don't see it, but honestly, I'll have a little. I don't know if this is insider information, but there are people at very high levels of Democrat politics in New York State that are convinced that Cuomo's going to win. And
There's a lot of money behind him.
And I believe that people put their thumb on the scales with these elections. There's a reason that California and New York are basically Democrat socialist states. I think that they put their thumb on the scales when it comes to who they want to win. And I believe that these people want Cuomo to win. I believe that they do not want Mamdani to win.
Well, yeah, I definitely believe they want Cuomo to. I mean,
Yeah.
Mike Bloomberg's $8 million right out the gate was like an indicator of like, this is the guy we want.
Yeah.
But do you think I mean, Eric Adams drops out. That was 8%. That didn't even there was still like a 10% gap between Cuomo and Mamdani. And that's even if everybody who would have voted for Eric Adams votes for Cuomo.
Yeah.
And Curtis is still pulling for his.
Somebody like even outside of the Dems, I mean, who are all awful, but we really need to stop Curtis Leawood from running for mayor ever again. I'm tired of seeing him. He's old. He's out of touch. And you know what? I have huge problems with the New York GOP in general, and I don't want to go too into that.
No, what's the T? What's the T?
Well, the T is, like, honestly, to be completely honest, the T is that they are way too used to losing. And there's a lot of older people that have a lot of money that love to have expensive dinners and talk about what's wrong, but they don't want to invest in people. And they don't want to invest in the institutions that I think will change things. Which is, and I've told this to some pretty high profile New York GOPers to their faces. And then honestly, when people are younger and fresher and more excited, you know, like myself, you don't really want to get involved too much when you kind of see what that space is. Because it's like, if you guys are cool with losing, then lose.
Yeah.
Just like, don't get me involved in it.
Yeah.
Well, what's crazy too is I think that there is a chance for a Republican to run New York City because we watched Giuliani do it.
Yeah.
The earlier version of Giuliani do it. But like, yeah, it is doable. I said this on a panel. I don't know what show I was on, but I said on a panel, I was like, yeah, it's doable for a Republican to win. And like everybody laughed, and I was like, well, yeah, Rudy Giuliani did it.
Yeah, and Giuliani did. And also, even if you look at the numbers for Trump, even if you look at how close, Lee Zeldin, came for governor. I mean, I think it's really possible. Bloomberg was, I lived in the city towards the end of the Bloomberg administration. He was great for the city. It was clean. It was safe. He did a lot of the right things. He was independent. And all independent means is businessman Republican, right? That and we could have one of those come in and win in New York. But, you know, in terms of somebody with an R next to their name and somebody that's pro-MAGA, which is where the party is right now, like, I don't know.
I think it's way too far gone. Like, Mamdani, like, I think is an indication of the fact that, like, for him to be able to defeat a former governor, incumbent mayor,
well, did Cuomo try?
Things.
I mean,
well, yeah,
guys.
I think he
also,
outworked
Cuomo
him.
has to, like, pretend that he wanted to be it. I almost felt like a bunch of people sat in a room and said, come back out, governor. You're going to do this. And then he was just, like, out there. I mean.
But look at the demographics that Mamdani did well with, though. It's like high educated voters, higher net worth individuals, which actually it goes to show that you can have all the degrees in the world and still not fucking understand economics, apparently, because socialism has failed in every single country it's been attempted in.
But it's the champagne socialists. And when you live in I lived in New York for a really long time.
And you fled to Florida?
I did, but it's a mix right now between the both of them. But you have to really understand the champagne socialists in these cities. Specifically, the New York champagne socialism is very specific because these are very wealthy people who are not stupid, by the way, but they're also insulated in their wealth, and that it's so generational, and that they're not going to really feel the effects of a Mamdani. It's when you look at like Cynthia Nixon, right, from Sex and the City,
right, who was also DSA.
Yeah, and she's stumping for Mamdani on TikTok and all that stuff. This is a woman. That shit show that at Sex and the City.
No. The sequel. We're talking about the sequel, not
what
was and just like that.
Yeah.
And just
but
like,
here's the thing. So she did like 3 seasons of that travesty and made $40 million, right, from doing that. So she's gonna be insulated from that. But it makes her cool and feel cool and look cool to push Mamdani. So New York is filled with those people. So it's these people, and then it's the young idiots that don't understand that the reason that New York is so bad and the reason that they can't move forward is because it has been under these Democrat policies for so long.
Going back to your part of when we were talking about Biden as the far left.
I never said Biden is the far left. I said that there were some very far left policies when it comes to that border.
Yeah. Okay.
It was the border. It was locking up his political opponents, which is ironic because y'all want to talk about James Comey today when there was not that concern when they locked up President Trump. There was not that concern when they locked up Peter Navarro. There was not that concern when they locked up Steve Bannon. There was not that concern.
As a former Hillary Clinton campaign staffer, I'm not going to sit here and cape for Comey.
But then again, I'm not going to let you guys get away with that. Like, here's the thing. If I voted for Trump, I voted for Trump twice now because I didn't vote for him in 2016, right? Like, if I voted for Trump in 2016, I didn't vote. And I'm on record as saying I thought Trump was a big old racist and there was no way that I was voting for Hillary Clinton. So, like, I sat out 2016. I'm on record as saying that. But here's the thing. I can't come back and rebrand, like, say, Newsom wins. And I can't be like, oh, well, I don't agree with all that stuff. Like, you have to own it. You have to own those policies. And if somebody comes up to me and says, you have to own this thing that Trump did that maybe you think is bad, now I have to own it. So you can't, like, now that the Biden administration is not aging well, it's actually aging horrifically, and people are aware of it. You can't be like, oh, that's not me. Like, that was some other people. Like, I just think it's disingenuous.
Well, I think the only person that has said that's not me quite literally is Corinne Jean-Pierre. Everybody is like, I worked in the Biden.
You worked closely with her. Why didn't she just resign? Like, if she truly felt as if the Biden White House was heading in a direction that did not match her personal beliefs and ideals, why not resign? Why wait until you get a book deal to have that epiphany?
Well, can I tell you something? The day that it was, I think it was like announced on X or something like that, not a single person knew this was coming. Nobody knew that she'd been working. I mean, she'd been quiet, but maybe everybody was quiet. Maybe they're all taking vacations. I don't know, but like.
Using all that money that they grifted from that, what was it? How many billions of dollars was it that went out in the last 45 days of the Biden administration? I believe it's something like 30 or 40. We should look that up.
Funding all the programs at the agencies, but so she did not. She definitely didn't take any money and run. She leaves, right? Pops back out with the book, and mind you, even now, nobody actually knows what like there's no excerpt that has come out. There's like
When
Harris.
does this book come out, by the way?
End of October, by the end this month. It comes out this
Really?
month.
This
It comes
month?
out
We
this-
haven't heard
Oh,
anything.
we gotta get her on for the book tour.
I think it's kind of difficult for people
questions.
to characterize what she's in because like none of us know, and she hasn't done. I think she's going to sit down with. What's the guy's name? Black guy, Roy. He did the Daily Show.
Trevor
Noah?
No.
No, Roy Cooper, that guy.
okay.
Is
The
that
comedian.
No,
one of the
no.
comedians? The Daily Show?
The Daily Show, but is Roy
He's
Cooper
like on
also-
CNN, right? That guy.
Oh no, you're thinking
Is he
of
a little heavyset?
No, Roy
he hosts
Cooper's
Higher
like-
Learning.
No, not
No.
Ben Lathan.
That guy.
And fuck them, by the way. Oh,
We'll come to.
yeah, because they
come
both
to
because
that.
they both came from me. Like fuck them. Like fuck him and
Rachel
fuck
Lindsay
her.
and,
fuck Rachel Lindsay. Fuck Van Lathan.
Not my Bachelorette.
And both of
my
them, if you have a
Bachelorette.
problem with it, you can say Rob Smith said it.
my
Fuck both
Bachelorette.
of them.
Oh my God.
Because they tried to come for me on their podcast. Like,
What would you do?
I
What do you
don't
say?
This is
know.
like a whole.
Yeah, no, what'd you do? What'd you say?
I don't remember what I did, but I do something every couple of months.
This is. Have you
I
ever?
do something
Have
every
you done
couple of
Abby?
months.
Have either of y'all done Abby's show?
No, I'm not.
I haven't been a panelist.
I've been in touch with him, and
yeah.
like we can never figure it out. But I'm
Okay.
like, I look forward to.
No, it would be fun at the
It would
at
be-
the
it
table.
would be very
But I
fun.
read that show so much in my own content, they may not want to have me.
Abby's show.
I
What do you think
just-
about Scott Jennings?
I think
Because
that
Scott is like the consistent.
he's a happy warrior, and he knows exactly what he's there to do, and he enjoys doing it. And he has a very high level of emotional discipline, which if you're going to be talking to idiot Democrats, like for a living, like you have to have that. Like, no offense.
Yeah.
But some of those people
She's
on
a
that
smart
show,
one, though.
no, well, yes, she's very smart. Some of those people on that show are idiots, and they actually like don't know policy,
I don't
right?
know if Anna Navarro is a Democrat.
No, I'm not talking about Anna Navarro. Like, I'm talking about the Dems that they have on just on a regular basis. Yeah. Like, even Bakari Sellers, who Jennings challenges on policy all the time, and he just will, like, not know things.
Yeah.
You know, but he's a happy warrior, and he has a smirk on his face, and you have to have fun doing it.
Yes.
Because if you don't have a lot of emotional control when you're dealing with those types of Democrats, then you'll just get irritated and mad and frustrated. And I don't believe that it will be entertaining for the viewer.
Yeah.
Right?
But
That's
you,
what I think when
you make an interesting point about Bakari, though, because I think, like, again, no offense to you, I think the standard for Black Democrats is very, very low.
It's
like
on the floor.
You know, like Bakari Sellers is allowed to not know things, and then if you say that he doesn't know things, especially if you're white, you're a racist. As a Black conservative, I don't know things, then I'm called, oh, you're an Uncle Tom sellout, and now you're ignorant, and now you don't know all these things,
and also a coon.
Right,
That's not a
right. You know, I miss some things from the list every now and then, but it's just like it's actually crazy. And the thing is about the Uncle Tom, which is actually ironic, it really goes to show that these people don't fucking read, because Uncle Tom's Cabin, Uncle Tom is actually like the hero in the
Uncle
book.
Tom's the hero.
Maybe they should look into that, but no, it's quite interesting, the standard that I think those people hold Black liberals to and the old Black conservatives to. It's like Kamala Harris is allowed to be, you know,
an idiot,
you know, 3 sheets to the wind every time she opens her mouth
She's
on
so
any
drunk.
public speaking engagement, but Ben Carson had to be perfect. Scott Turner has to be perfect. All of those people are forced to be perfect, and it's quite interesting to me.
You guys ever heard of Blue MAGA?
No.
Have you heard
Yeah,
that?
that's
term?
like the blue and on. It's like the really
Okay.
crazy
Blue and on, yeah.
MAGA. Like
No.
Democrats,
Blue,
right?
Blue MAGA is now like a lot of the pro-Palestinian people
Yeah.
are calling anybody who is like not like 100%. Like they call Richie Torres Blue MAGA.
Yeah,
because
interesting.
he's like probably like the biggest
Yeah.
supporter of
He's
Israel
very,
on the
very.
downside.
So blue. Well,
And they
Torres
call like
is
they
very
call
pro-Israel.
Tom
Yeah.
So is that what they call him?
Yeah, Swazi they call Blue MAGA because he's a Never Mamdani guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of Blue MAGA.
So I
they
have
called my
a-
old boss, Senator Mark Warner, Blue MAGA because he's like made a ton of money in the telecom tech business, is very like capital facing, and senior senator
Yeah.
in Virginia, so like is just very friendly with all of the
Because
like,
God forbid a man be
contractors
successful,
and-
but like it goes back to an
So-
earlier point you made, and we have to
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
probably wrap up on this one. Is that like you look at Mamdani's biggest supporters in New York City, right? You mentioned Cynthia Nixon. You don't really see him trotting out Black people in support of his campaign.
No.
Because I think that like the ethos of Black America is actually very much in opposition to everything that socialism believes in and promotes, right? Like you have black people who want to be wealthy. You know, our culture puts that on a pedestal. You look at rap culture, people are rapping about getting their money up, winning, all of those things, building businesses, being entrepreneurial.
Your best friend, Sexy Red.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah, best friend. You know, so you look at all.
I'll hear that story after
Yeah,
this.
we got to talk about that. But it's like, that's the thing. It's like white liberals are actually destroying this country in a way in which I think that we will be like reading about for a very long time to come, specifically white liberal women in suburbs and swing states that, you know, didn't vote for Trump in 2020 because they were just so personally aggrieved by, he tweets mean
If they
things.
just didn't vote, like our country would be awesome.
We are all beholden to that demographic in those specific suburbs, in those specific states.
Yeah.
Like that they're like, I'm like tunnel vision on the Electoral College, on the numbers. I'm like, guys, if you think about it, politics is just a run the numbers game.
Yeah.
You do.
I think it's very interesting that it's really funny because nobody's really brought up why black people are not like writing for Mamdani like this, and why they're not even really hiring any black people or influencers or Hollywood actors or whatever to trot out in favor of him. And I think like this. I never am going to be the one to make the argument that like all black people are just going to automatically just start voting Republican, right? But there is an awakening that's happening, and I've seen it, and I'm sure you've seen it as well. I've been doing this, like, I came in as conservative about 7 years ago, and there was just this, like, really visceral hatred that was coming from, and the visceral hatred will always come from, like, you know, the paid black liberals of the world, like the CNN news people or whatever, like, that's their job, and I don't really care about them. Yeah. But there was this hatred that would come from just the everyday black person that would encounter you on the internet. And it was like, it was so visceral. And I've seen so much less of that lately. And I've seen so much more of, well, I don't like everything you say, but you're making some points, right? And to bring this back to Mamdani, that awakening is happening, and I think that they know, and they can't define socialism like you can, right?
Yeah.
And they can't define that this has never worked or this is socialism and all that stuff, but they can sense that there's something in this that is not going to work out for them.
I mean, look at Jeffries. We can't even get Jeffries to endorse.
And Obama.
Yeah.
And I have to say again and again and again, you know, Jeffries has to have a sit-down conversation with Mamdani. I mean, he has to talk about where's the revenue going to come from for a lot of this. Like,
he doesn't know. He has no answer to those questions. But I think, to your point, there is an exodus happening in the black community. There is definitely a big change perspective. You hear it from young black men, especially, actually. When you actually spend time out in the community, you talk to these people, you ask them about Mamdani, all those things, they're not excited about him. And I think that's the problem that a lot of Democrats are having right now, is they don't have anyone that actually excites a demographic of people that were long loyal almost exclusively to the Dems. But we're out of time. But I want to thank you guys for joining us. Rob, always good to see you. Yemisi, always great to see you. Always such a great sport. Guys, we'll be back next week right here on everywhere. Actually, you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. And I will see you guys next week. Welcome to the family. We'll see you soon.